It is Monday morning. I know many of you can't understand why I'm saying that with a smile, but it's a wonderful day and a start to a hopefully productive week. Today is the 28th of September 2020, and you're watching another episode of the Morning Brew live on NTN. We're coming to you live from the GIS studios. My name is Jessie Leonce, bringing you the latest updates from the government of St. Lucia. Just to go over the latest updates for this 24-hour news cycle, we have an update from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Delmar George, and it's on COVID-19. We also have a look back at World Tourism Day observed yesterday, the 27th of September 2020. We have a statement coming from Tourism Minister Honorable Dominic Fede. We have that coming up in just a moment. And also, we take a look back at yesterday again with the live launch of Moi Héritage Creole. We had the live launch of Creole Heritage Month and also Poetry Live, Voices of the Underground series. That series being spearheaded by the Cultural Development Foundation. That also airing yesterday. A lot of activities being aired virtually, giving more and more people the opportunity to join in and support. Do stay tuned for that. And of course, the cake topper on this morning's brew, we have the launch of Financial Information Month. We have 4 executives here in studio with us on standby for very important interviews, letting us know from the Bankers Association of St. Lucia what exactly is Financial Information Month and what we can expect as part of activities for this observance. I know many of you have been reassessing the way you approach and manage your money, especially in light of COVID-19. Hopefully we do get some answers and resolve as to how we can go forward with our money management from this morning's interview. So stay tuned for that and more coming up directly after this break. You're watching The Morning Brew. Stay with us.
In a world where germs are widespread, comes a group of superhero germ busters, the germaphores.
We spend most of our time fighting germs every day of the week. After I play, I wash my hands. Before I eat, I wash my hands. After I play with my puppy, I wash my hands. I cover my sneezes with my forearm or elbow when I am in public. And I cover my cough to avoid spreading dangerous germs. We are the germaphores, germ-busting superheroes. You can be too. Always wash your hands and cover your sneeze and cough. Let's stop the spread of menacing germs.
We'll be back, germaphores, with more powerful germs.
And we will be waiting to prevent you from spreading.
When a hurricane is approaching, safety of life and the preservation of livelihoods is most important. We should take heed. Fill 5-gallon buckets and other containers with water prior to the storm. You'll need it to water transplants in the greenhouse if you have lost power. Mulch as many bare rows as possible before the storm. Mulching will help prevent erosion and wind damage and will also minimize soil splashing into the crop canopy, which can cause disease. Rip mature crops such as tomatoes and melons because they will split after heavy rains. Pick coconuts and consider harvesting cut flowers right before the storm as they will be easily damaged by rain and wind. Fortify any field trellises so you don't lose the crops they are supporting. Wherever possible, unhang trellis plants and place them to lay flat on the ground. Make sure tractors and other equipment and supplies are secured. Don't leave market baskets, picking crates, dip tape, or irrigation pipes in the field or laying around where they can become missiles in high winds or get washed away by flood waters. And stock up on gas for generators and other needed farm equipment. Remember, this is the hurricane season, and we should be prepared. A message brought to you by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources, and Cooperatives.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. You are watching the Morning Brew live on NTN. If you're watching on air online, a special good morning to you, residents from St. Lucia. If you're watching us from your office, from your home this morning, about your business, doing your chores, thank you so much for joining us. If you're drinking your Lucia tea, your cocoa tea, a special good morning to you. Thanks. Just huddle up as we get to find out what is happening from the government of St. Lucia this morning. In St. Lucia, we continue to stand at 27 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, and thankfully we have had no new cases recently. And of course, as we celebrated World Tourism Day yesterday, the Honorable Minister for Tourism, Honorable Dominic Fede, did speak to the efforts of every citizen, from the layman to the highest office, playing their part in ensuring that we can have a responsible, phased reopening of our society and, by extension, which is very important, our tourism sector. To speak on and to give us an update on where we stand in terms of COVID-19, we have Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George to speak on the cases so far and to reinforce the points that we have been asking for persons to adhere to the protocols. And speaking of which, we have Parliament tomorrow. The House of Assembly will be convening. We know many persons will be tuning in, people keeping their eyes peeled, because we've heard that the state of emergency is going to be up to the 30th of September, and persons want to find out, will it be extended? Will it be curtailed? We want you to tune in to find out the specifics, the details. Perhaps you're already in receipt of the order paper, but tune in tomorrow morning to find out what is happening in the country as it pertains to the state of emergency. Meantime, we have the COVID-19 update from Dr. Sharon Belmar-George.
St. Lucia has recorded a total of 27 confirmed COVID-19 cases to date. Presently, there are no active cases of COVID-19 on island. The last case has been repatriated to the United States for treatment and care. St. Lucia has recorded 0 COVID-19 deaths. A total of 7,945 tests have been conducted to date. We continue daily testing for COVID-19 at the various sites. The 5 respiratory clinics remain open to facilitate anyone with respiratory signs and symptoms or concerns. The 311 hotline is also available where concerns and questions can be addressed. As we continue to open the various sectors, the public is advised to take personal responsibility to protect themselves, their family, and colleagues by ensuring responsible behavior at all times and in all locations. We continue to increase our surveillance to reduce risks such as illegal entry at the borders, breaches to home quarantine, and non-adherence to protocols. We advise on safe mass crowd gatherings by adhering to the established guidelines. The public is also advised that new sectors open with all protocols in place. These also include the use of face masks in public places and also to maintain safe physical distance from others. We appeal to everyone to continue supporting our national effort to minimize the threat of COVID-19 on our island.
And while we look to a very bright future, we are very cognizant of the reality that the pandemic is. You can continue to call the 311 hotline. You can contact that hotline to find out any more information that you might need with respect to the pandemic, any concerns, any queries. You might see something suspicious happening in your community. Surveillance has been increased, as the CMO indicated, to ensure that there is responsible behavior at all times. There continues to be a concern by law enforcement as to illegal entry borders, also breaches to home quarantine and non-adherence to protocols in general. We hope you're staying on the right side of the law. You're doing your part. We continue to be very vigilant at this time as it pertains to the pandemic. And speaking of which, St. Lucia has been on the road to the new normal. We've been doing well so far. We've been getting some good reviews, and we're not talking about internal assessments and observations. We're talking about good reviews from international agencies speaking on how St. Lucia has been doing so far and commending the highest office to the common man for their role in ensuring that St. Lucia can get back to a good place post-pandemic. We do have the Honorable Dominic Fede, the Minister for Tourism, speaking in observance of World Tourism Day, which was observed yesterday. That was Sunday, 27th of September 2020. And just speaking on the way we've so far been able to responsibly go about with the phased reopening of our tourism sector, which is our lifeline, our lifeblood. And so far we've had about 6,000 visitors come to our island, and things are on the up and up. Take a listen.
On this World Tourism Day, I salute you all on the tremendous successes of the collective contribution has had on the public health management land space. This has no doubt propelled St. Lucia in the best position in the Caribbean to realize a productive and most effective reopening, while we remain inspired by the 6,000 visitors that have so far flocked our shores. It is by no means enough to compensate for the devastation of COVID-19 on tourism. Many hotels, car rental companies remain unviable, and thousands of tourism jobs are still in the flux. But every visitor, every new flight, and every day that a hotel reopens present us with boundless opportunities. I pay tribute to the many thousands of tourism employees, those impacted negatively by the pandemic, ancillary service providers, and hospitality students across the island. You have demonstrated much tenacity and perseverance by surviving the impact of COVID's destruction of the industry.
That was the Minister for Tourism, the Honorable Dominic Fede, commending the work of everybody involved in terms of the tourism sector in helping to resuscitate the sector after our lockdown here on island. Our borders were closed. We're looking back because, you know, the situation and the stark reality of things helps to keep us sober when it comes to going forward as we go forward with the protocols, ensuring that we play our part to ensure that COVID-19 stays at bay. So that word there from the Tourism Minister. The 2020 edition of World Tourism Day is being observed with the theme Tourism and Rural Development, celebrating the unique role that tourism plays in providing opportunities outside of the cities and preserving cultural and natural heritage all around the world. And definitely this is our experience here in St. Lucia. It's not just big hotels that are benefiting from the tourism sector or airlines and what have you. It is also the individuals who are vending on the beach, individuals who are plying their trade on the highways of St. Lucia, where, you know, the tourists would stop at the various lookout points. Everyone, many persons, many families, many households have been impacted. And so far, many households are hoping for something better to come out of the tourism sector as we go on, as we slowly resume and get back to something that is close to what obtained before. So our fingers are all crossed that our tourism sector does better month by month, week by week, day by day, as we try to bring St. Lucia back to what it was before. We are due for another break. Do stay with us. When we come back, we have the launch of Financial Information Month for 28th of September 2020. That is today. It's live on the Morning Brew. Stay with us. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. I know many of you are counting your coins, especially in light of COVID-19. We have 4 executives in studio to speak to us about what we can expect for Financial Information Month. Stay with us.
She's been watching, waiting, wondering when the sands of time will give way to a tide of change, and for yesterday and today to become a new tomorrow. For a time when her sun can kiss the cheeks of your loved one and her stars can twinkle in her honeymoon skies. When her earthly embrace will reassure and calm your soul. And her unique view can change your whole perspective. Proudly, she has has risen to meet new challenges and to provide safe harbor to all who reach her shores. For her hopes and dreams still stand, shoulder to shoulder, a precious reminder of experiences yet to come. So, wherever your moments and memories take you, let her sense of adventure set you free. She is Saint Lucia. Let her inspire you.
Tu n'es créole encore, hein? À nous célébrer, plus maille passé l'année passée. À nous aller. Oui, chanter. Oui, chanter. Oui. Jodien en l'air d'idée, manger qu'à préparer. Mon habillé belle, en hâte, tradition sous-sel. Bagaille en temps longtemps, à sous exhibition. Dernier dimanche, ma octobre, ou kaitan créole plus souvent.
Social media, YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. Sunday, 27 September from 2 p.m. Découvrez cette musique. Découvrez Paul.
Hi, I'm Jim Joseph, president of the Bosiju Community Group. We believe St. Lucia can win the war against the coronavirus, and here's how. Every community in St. Lucia must mobilize, coordinate, monitor and support residents the way we would before, during, and after a natural disaster. Identify volunteers in your community, assign them roles, and deploy them. Ensure your elderly and vulnerable understand all protocols. Help relatives, shield them from unnecessary contact with others. Identify those recently unemployed and vulnerable neighbors living alone. Put systems in place to filter updates from official sources throughout your community. Promote the hotline number 311. If it takes a village to raise a child, then all of us can come together to defend the village against the coronavirus. Let's do it.
Together let us win this war. St. Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
When a hurricane is approaching, safety of life and the preservation of livelihoods is most important. We should take heed. Fishers, move boats and fishing vessels to higher grounds or safer holding spaces. Secure boats by tying them with rope and chains. Boats can also be secured by filling them with sand and sunk for protection against high winds. Collect all fishing pods and place on land in a secure holding area. Protect fishing nets by weighing them down and securing them where they will not be washed away by flood waters. Store all electronic and navigational equipment such as GPS and radios in a dry, safe place. Secure both engines and spare parts. Avoid the spillage of oil and lubricants by storing your supply in an elevated, secure area. Evacuate low-lying coastal areas. Do not for any reason go out to sea if storm threatens, as the strength or wind speed could change unexpectedly. And keep monitoring the weather system by listening to official advisories from NEMO and the Met Services. Remember, this is the hurricane season, and we should be prepared. A message brought to you by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources, and Cooperatives.
The pandemic. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are watching the Morning Brew live on NTN. We just brought you some updates coming from the government of St. Lucia, and part of a statement, a snippet of a statement made by the Honorable Dominic Fede, Minister for Tourism, and also the statement coming from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmont-George, the COVID-19 update. Also reminding you that Parliament will be convening tomorrow. The House of Assembly will be meeting. And primarily among the things you should be looking for is the word on the update on the state of emergency here in St. Lucia. We know that this state of emergency expires on the 30th of September, so we want you to keep your ears on the ground, your eyes peeled for the word coming from the legislators tomorrow. Meantime, we have in studio 4 executives, 2 of whom are on set right now. Mr. Gordon Julian, the Public Relations Officer at the Bankers Association of St. Lucia, and Mr. Everton Seeley, the Eccb St. Lucia Agency Country Manager. And they are the first 2 on set this morning to speak to us about Financial Information Month. That's right, we're launching Financial Information Month right here from NTN Studios. Good morning to you 2 gentlemen.
Good morning, Jesse. Good morning.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that before you got here, you had your tea, you had a full breakfast to keep you robust for this interview.
Well, I'm coming to the brew, so I expected to get a nice brew this morning.
Wait for it.
Actually, I had my Louisette. I heard you mentioning Louisette, so I did have my Louisette, so yes.
Good. So your belly has something. We're talking Financial Information Month.
Yes.
And many persons with the onset of COVID-19, your grandmother would tell you, save for a rainy day. And the pandemic, was a catastrophic hurricane of economic proportion. We're observing Financial Information Month. Speak to us about what we can expect this month. What are bankers trying to impart to the citizenry, to the common man, to establishments, to the government of St. Lucia this month?
Right. Thank you, Jesse, and good morning again, listeners. Financial Information Month is a financial education campaign that is observed throughout the ECCU, the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, every year in October, and it has been so done from 2002. This year is particularly interesting, Jesse, because as you rightly said, COVID-19 has done a number on us, on our lives, on our finances in particular. We know the situation with COVID-19. So it is especially appropriate this year that we build Financial Information Month and ensure that it is successful. That is why we're here. Just a little bit about Financial Information Month. As I said, it is a regional program spearheaded by the ECCB in partnership with a number of agencies, including the Bankers Association, who we have partnered so strongly with this year, various media houses, and Jesse, I'm hoping that this will be an annual program in October. Yes, and various educational institutions and government agencies. ECCB has a mandate to ensure that our citizenry are educated as it relates to financial matters, as it relates to financial management. And as we said, COVID-19 has brought this necessity to the fore. What the overall goal is to ensure that our citizens are financially savvy, because that will result in a strong, vibrant economy, a financially developed economy. I can go into a little bit more on that, but I will leave it there for now.
Okay, and now I segue to Bankers Association of St. Lucia Public Relations Officer. Nice to have you here again, Mr. Julian.
Nice to be here, Jesse.
Wonderful. Talk to us about the activities in collaboration with ECCB. Well, what we can expect overall. Right. We know the activities are coming up in just a while with Ms. Joseph, but talk to us about Financial Information Month.
So Jesse, the Bankers Association of St. Lucia, we're really excited to partner with the ECCB to execute on Financial Information Month this year. As you know, it's held in October every year since 2002. We have been having a lot of meetings. We have set up an activities committee, which is made up of employees or peers in the various financial institutions, 11 financial institutions in St. Lucia. And we have the chairperson of the activities committee here, who's going to tell you about some of the activities that you can expect for Financial Information Month. But going back to Financial Information Month, every year there's a theme to sort of guide our activities for the year. This year, the theme for Financial Information Month is building financial resilience in a COVID-19 environment. And we consider this theme to be particularly important this year because of the fact that, St. Lucia, we are fortunate in the sense that we fared very well from a health perspective, as far as COVID is concerned. I heard you say at the top of the show that we have 27 confirmed cases, 0 deaths, 0 persons in intensive care. We've opened our borders since June, July, and we've been able to manage our incidence of COVID. However, the financial impact has been tremendous, disastrous, you name it. It has affected so many people in so many different ways. Households, individuals, businesses. And just to put it in context for you, the banks, and we talk a lot about the moratoriums, the banks would have come into the picture in terms of supporting individuals because of the financial impact. And the last number that we have is that as of the end of June, the number, there was $1.5 billion in moratorium that was taken up by the residents and citizens of St. Lucia.
Including businesses.
Businesses and individuals, which is significant. And just to put it in perspective, Antigua, which is the second largest of the financial system in the OECS, or the ECCU, their uptake was $1.2 billion. And that is a large number, that's a significant number. So it puts into context the type of economic impact that, that the COVID has had on individuals. Now, going back to the theme, we've established, or the central bank set up a number of sub-themes, again, to sort of help us in terms of the activities that we're going to be having for the month. So the sub-themes were living through rainy days, how to manage your money in challenging times. And again, that goes without saying. As I indicated, COVID has had a significant financial impact on persons. It has led to persons being depressed, nowhere to turn. What can I do? The banks has helped in terms of providing liquidity support to individuals. However, there is more that can be done. So we are hoping that, or we expect that through our activities for Financial Information Month, we will help guide people, help them, provide them information, the tools that they need in order to find ways that, yes, my income has been restricted, limited, but how can I survive on that limited amount of income that I have? How do I prioritize in terms of my spending, right? What are some of the things I need to do and not do? What are some of the things I can defer? How do I deal with lenders? So I have obligations to banks. As much as we say that we have a number of persons who have availed themselves of the moratorium, there might be persons out there who may, for one reason or the other, may not be aware that there's a moratorium or how to avail themselves of the moratorium. So we expect that through Financial Information Month, we provide a sort of guidance and a roadmap to persons in terms of navigating through those tumultuous waters. The second sub-theme is happening online, using the internet as a tool in the new normal. And since COVID, everything has gone online. Now, there are persons who are very tech savvy and they're very comfortable with online solutions. There are other persons who are not. And they have this fear of online. And we expect that through Financial Information Month, we'll help persons to overcome that fear and to help them in terms of knowing what solutions are out there in terms of doing their banking, right? A lot of banking business can be done online. How do you do it? In fact, through the banks, we have a little competition as part of Financial Information Month, and you will hear more about it from the chairperson in terms of online. How do we engage persons in terms of online activities? Persons are doing businesses. How do I reach my customers through online channels, right? Where do I turn? Where do I start? And then we expect that, again, through Financial Information Month, we provide ideas and solutions through those, to navigate through those situations. And finally, turning the frown upside down, creating opportunities from COVID-19. And that reminds me of two quotes or two things that normally I'm guided by. It says that tough times don't last, but tough people do, right? And behind every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. And through the challenges of COVID-19, persons have been able to find alternative ways of earning an income. And we expect and we're hoping that through this sub-theme, we'll continue to explore the dialogue and the discussion in terms of what are some of the things that I can do? How can I build resilience? How can I build my financial resources? How can I find alternative forms of employment to be able to navigate through those tumultuous times, right?
Wonderful. I go back to you, Mr. Seeley. We got the assurance from the ECCU that the dollar remains strong, and also looking at the impact of COVID-19. Speak to us about some of the actions of the ECCB. If you could just go over some of them. What is the resolve of the ECCB to ensure that we stay afloat, our regional situation stays afloat?
Certainly. As we speak, as you rightly said, the EC dollar remains very strong, very well backed. And that is one of the mandates of the ECCB to ensure the integrity of the financial system and to ensure the strength of the EC dollar. We have been collaborating with our partners, the Bankers Association and the various licensed financial institutions, to ensure that the level of support that's required in such an environment which is unprecedented, that level of support is given, and that is done not in isolation, but as I said, in conjunction with all the partners. Gordon was, just to go back to Financial Information Month, Gordon mentioned the themes and the sub-theme. It is very important to realize that these themes were developed after much dialogue and consultation with partners across the region to ensure that they were absolutely appropriate for the environment. Because we always talk and we always refer to managing finances and saving for rainy days and what have you. I dare say the rainy days are here. For most people in this pandemic, the rainy days are here. So it is very critical now that the information get out to persons as to how do you manage your finances, how do you spend, how do you budget, how do you receive a salary, how do you manage that to ensure that your lifestyle is sustainable. And that is the work that the ECCB is doing for our financial education program in conjunction with our partners to ensure that it happens. Another sub-theme which Gordon mentioned, and I like a lot, is turning the frown upside down, creating opportunities from COVID-19. As he said, behind every dark cloud there is a silver lining. It's hard, but there are opportunities to grow and to emerge on the other side of this in even stronger. And that is what our themes are trying to explore, and that is what we hope to achieve through Financial Information Month this year. I mean, we will go into the activities and you will see clearly how they would relate to each theme and each sub-theme, right? Taking it to a more specific level. When you look at businesses, small businesses are already so vulnerable. And then you have COVID-19. How does a small business owner cope with that kind of stress? How do you manage your finances? You'd be surprised how simple things in running a small business can assist you to be sustainable and to operate your business for the long term and not hand to mouth, as we say sometimes, you know. Simple things like keeping records for your business. And this is what we hope to achieve this financial information through our education program at the ECCB to ensure that our citizenry is financially developed, financially savvy. We want our citizenry to start thinking in terms of investments, the best use for your dollar, right? It is always possible to, if you have a little extra, to put it in the banks, which is very safe, which is good. But then there are other means of generating other income, generating interest, right? So that is what we would like to see, and that is what we are excited about financial information to really get the financial information out there to our people.
I want to touch on, and perhaps you, Mr. Julien, could talk to me about that. There are two ends of persons who were hit by COVID-19 that you don't hear much talk about. You mentioned small businesses, and there's often conversation about how to empower small businesses and financing them and so on from the bankers and government of St. Lucia. But there were these big conglomerates that just fell out of the sky because of COVID-19. They were not able to manage the tide of this pandemic. And you also had the common man who feels a little bit disconnected from the banking system, they don't understand it. They know from childhood, penny bank, you could save your little money. But now I think the perception is that banking has gone to a place of, I dare say, the corporate level, where persons can't identify. Speak to these two extremes of very big businesses, huge companies, not just national, St. Lucia, but internationally, who just weren't able to deal with the effects of the pandemic, and also meeting now, as we're talking about Financial Information Month, trying to help the common man meet the idea of banking and make it more understandable for them.
Yeah, these are very good questions, Jesse. You spoke about big companies, and big companies are not immune to failure. We know, as even before COVID, through digitization and technology, some companies develop a sense of complacency, and they had no strategic plan in terms of the changes that were taking place ahead, and they did not really define their business. And all of a sudden, those large companies which appear to be immune to failure, they just disappeared. And one that comes to mind is Kodak. We talk a lot about Kodak, right? So it goes to show that no matter how successful you are today, there's no guarantee of success tomorrow. And you have to keep looking at your business strategically and staying ahead of the curve. The companies that were able to survive through COVID are the companies that operate in a very nimble manner. They were able to they were very flexible, they were able to make quick decisions. They had a bit of reserves in the bank that they could fall upon. They kept their expenses low so that when revenues fall, which is what happened in COVID, their expenses were within line with those reduced revenues. So they were able to survive. So you have to keep redefining and looking at your business. And I said that goes, the same thing applies to small businesses as well. You have to be creative. The question you ask about the small man and feeling that he's no longer part of the banking system. Banking is there for all. We're there to bank the small man and the big man, right? We have a very important role to play. The banks have a very important role to play in the economic and financial development of our countries. I know in the days where people felt that you could put your little 2 cents in the bank, you go and collect your interest. In those days, it was 4% interest, right? And that kind of thing. Yes, the rates of interest have gone down to 2%, the minimum savings rate. The central bank is right there with me, so you can don't blame us, blame the central bank. But again, banking has changed. Banks, again, in keeping up the times, we've embraced technology. So no longer we expect that the small man is going to come into the bank with his little check, to change his check, collect his money, and go and buy his groceries, right? We now have online banking. There are a number of ways where you could deposit money into the bank. There are a number of ways that you can make payments. A lot of transactions that people still think that you have to come to the bank to do, you can do it online. And by the way, online is free. There's no cost involved. Everybody have a smartphone, right? Even the small man who say that is small man and who say that they don't know technology, they do WhatsApp, they do Facebook, they do Instagram.
So they're not as disconnected.
As they would like us to believe. So all it takes is an additional step to download an app, a banking app, right? Spend 5 minutes, if that not much, trying to find out how to do this, how to do that. And before you know it, you develop a comfort level. And what you thought was beyond you is very much within reach, right? So I don't necessarily agree with the idea that there's some people who are disconnected from the banking system. In fact, they should be feeling more connected now, the way things are going.
Understood. Point taken. Mr. Seeley, I go back to you. Looking at contraction in the economy in our region, well, the world, can you just speak to us about the impact on the ECCU, the tourism sector, and also the unemployment rates that we so far have seen? I'm going to come back to the moratoriums in just a while, but just lay that reality bare for us and how the ECCU is looking to address it.
As I indicated, the Eccb is working in conjunction with the various governments to ensure that we have a smooth recovery and we come out on the other side even more resilient. As I said also, the primary function of the Eccb is to ensure the stability of the EC currency, and that we guarantee is very stable. The EC dollar is very well backed. The information is out there. It's very well backed. And to ensure the integrity of the banking system. As you indicated, yes, there has been some significant fallout from COVID-19 in terms of the economic impact. I mean, as you rightly said, we saw large businesses being closed down. We saw persons being laid off for months on end. We saw the impact on our main sector, which is tourism. So the intention is to ensure that support is provided, overall guidance is provided for all partners, and to ensure that, as I said, we come out on the other side of this even more resilient than before.
Okay. The ECCB governor, I remember his statement made in response to COVID-19, and he was stressing on solidarity in the region in terms of staying afloat. If you just speak more to that, what does the coming together of the union mean for a resuscitation of the economy?
Certainly. And I think this pandemic has given us opportunities to become even closer as a region, which is so important because, I mean, I hold the personal view that our greatest potential as a people lie within the coming together of the region. And the pandemic has given us these opportunities. I mean, lately we've been having our digital dialogues on ECCB, and these we have panelists from around the region, whereas before, it would be somewhat difficult to get panelists all over the region, right? At this point, you bring people in via webinars and what have you, and we can all connect. We have viewers from all around the region so that we can come together. I think also a regional approach is very important in the sense that we are stronger together in the sense that our economies are more diverse. If we just focus on one island, and that's my personal view, if we focus on one island, then the impact can be severe. But when you it's almost like diversification from my perspective. When we look at it like that, then we can see how we can cushion, we can learn from each other, and we can move forward as a region. And the ECCB, I dare say, is a beacon of what can be achieved regionally as a group. The strength that we have is because of all the islands coming together. The EC dollar is a beacon to all of us in terms of what we can achieve. The strength of our dollar is, if there is one example of regional success, it's our EC dollar.
Wonderful. And that has definitely allowed for the ECCU to provide certain reliefs. $4 million in terms of, let me look at my notes, $4 million in grants to member countries, support for loan deferrals by banks, the ability to even impart the moratorium. You mentioned $1.5 billion in the value of the moratorium. Speak to us as to where the moratorium is so far, Mr. Julian.
Okay, so the moratorium, as I indicated, in the context of St. Lucia, the last numbers from the central bank, $1.5 billion as of the end of June, which is in the vicinity of about 40% uptake, which is consistent across the region, because in the OECS region, the total moratorium is $4.9 billion with an uptake of about 37.7%. That's across the region. Now, this is the extent of liquidity support that has gone back into the economy. And we think it's relevant because we've had a lot of discussions about the merits and demerits of the moratorium and how it was administered and what should be waived and what should not be waived. And I think it's a continuing dialogue. And I think that Financial Information Month is again an excellent opportunity for us to consider the further dialogue in that area. We've heard of the extension that was recommended or supported by the ECCB. And one may ask, okay, do I need that additional moratorium? What about my financial situation? What about my loss of income? Because you have to understand that as you continue to avail of that moratorium, which is really a deferral, it's not a waiver, what is going to mean for your finances down the road, right? Because you've deferred payment of your mortgage for 6 months, which may go up to another 12 months, as the case dictates. And it means that your mortgage is going to be delayed by that amount of time. What does that mean for your long-term finances? And again, we expect that through Financial Information Month, we'll have that sort of dialogue and a discussion, and persons can have questions and get some of those answers that they need in terms of the merits and demerits and whether they should or shouldn't, and to what extent that they can. One of the points I want to make is that the first round of the moratorium, which went for about 6 months, I think in most cases, most persons, whether they really needed it or not, they took it. So you had a situation where banks didn't really necessarily vet and say, well, okay, you can afford to pay, you not afford to pay. Once you requested it, for the most part, you got it. The next round of moratorium that's going to be extended, there's expectation that the bank's it's going to be a more rigorous exercise.
There'll be scrutiny.
There'll be more scrutiny. So for example, persons will have to demonstrate that there was actually a loss of income and that kind of thing. There'll be more robust discussions between the banks and the individuals in determining the extent of the moratorium that's going to be granted, right? But I think it's a very important discussion in terms of what the impact and the implications of the moratorium on your future finances down the road, and how you utilize the additional cash flow that's provided under the moratorium, because you would have now had some funds of money, some pool of funds that you didn't have to pay to the bank. Are you making the most effective use of that cash flow, or are you just squandering it, right? Because it's really to provide liquidity support for the essential things, to put food on your table, to meet medical expenses that you couldn't, for businesses to continue to sustain your business and that type of thing. Really to put it into good use, so that at the end of the day, even if you deferred on your payment, you still made good, wise, sound decisions and good utilization of that additional liquidity that's going to help you in the long run.
Okay, we're wrapping up. We have two lovely ladies to come on set to talk to us some more about Financial Information Month, the activities that will be held. As we wrap up, final words from you two?
Sure. From my perspective, we're very excited about Financial Information Month. We're hoping that it becomes an annual staple on the St. Lucian calendar in October. As I said, we've been doing this from 2002, and we really intend to grow it significantly. So I'm asking everyone to look out for our Financial Information Month with all the activities that are going to be. We're a little constrained because of COVID-19. However, there's a lot that's going to be happening. So we encourage the public, we encourage everyone to look out for Financial Information Month and to learn and to get the information so that we can become a financially savvy citizenry.
Thank you very much. Mr. Julian?
Yeah, no, so Financial Information Month for us, we're really excited about this year's activities. You see a softer side of the bank. It's not our business. We have nice camaraderie among the banks, competition among the banks. We see it as a great form of corporate social responsibility to give back, to educate the public and the citizenry. Because the more educated they are, is the better decisions they make. It helps in terms of the strengthening of the financial system and building resilience in the financial system. I just want to urge the general public to support, to participate. I want to thank our staff members and the team who have been working very hard in terms of planning the events. And I'm looking forward to strong participation from all the banks and the general public in St. Lucia.
Wonderful. Mr. Seeley, before we go, just give us some insight as to the operations of the ECCB right now. I understand there's teleworking involved to try to offset the meeting in physical spaces and so on.
As well, you're right. Since the pandemic, we've been telecommuting, and that is a response to the pandemic to ensure social distancing we've realized that it's very effective, right? The work is being done, everything is happening. As you can see, things are going on as normal. So yes, to answer your question, we have taken steps in terms of dealing with the pandemic, and we're looking forward to emerging on the other side even stronger.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time, both. As we are due for another break. Thank you both, Mr. Julian and Mr. Seeley. When we come back, we hear more from the Bankers Association of St. Lucia on activities for Financial Information Month. Do stay with us.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join revolution.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
When a hurricane is approaching, safety of life and the preservation of livelihoods is most important. We should take heed. Take chickens and other domestic birds into a building and place them safely in a cage or box if possible. Release larger stocks such as cattle in an open field area. Tying animals increases the chances of injury. Check on animals early and move them to a safe location away from riverbanks and areas likely to have landslides. Provide enough water and feed to prevent them from breaking out. Remove cots from under trees and remove the wheels for added protection. Chemicals, fertilizers, and other toxic materials, such as sprays or pesticides, should be stored in the safest sections of a building, as they may cause fires if mixed. In the case of flood-prone areas, these should be stored above the historical waterline. Remember, this is the hurricane season, and we should be prepared. A message brought to you by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources, and Cooperatives.
Open with just a general.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is the Morning Brew live on NTN. We are now joined on set by another two executives from the Bankers Association of St. Lucia. If you're just joining us, we're talking Financial Information Month, and we're launching here right live on NTN. And we're speaking to now Ms. Vernal Joseph, Chairman of the Activities Committee of the Bankers Association of St. Lucia, and also the Treasurer of the Association, Ms. Sandra Fontenelle. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning, and it's great to be here.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
The gentlemen exhausted much of our morning brew, but we're so thankful to have you here to speak to us about the activities quickly, and hopefully to have you again on set for another episode of the Morning Brew to speak more on the activities. So I start with you, Ms. Fontenelle. Talk to us about give us an overview of the observance.
Yes, so thank you, Jesse, and it's really good to be here this morning. In keeping with the theme of Financial Information Month this year, which is building financial resistance in the COVID-19 environment, and our mandate or strategy as the Bankers Association, where we engage the public and educate the public, we have put together a robust calendar of events that was really well thought out, and happy to say that all the 11 financial institutions came together in collaboration with the Eccb to put together this calendar of events. And our focus would be on basically three stakeholders, which would be our community and grassroots as well, grassroots community, our clients, and our employees. So when we put together these activities, we took all of that in mind. And I have to say also that COVID-19 has brought a lot of restrictions. So we cannot come together like we normally do. So we had to use the technology. So we will be doing a lot of things online and making sure that we observe social distancing. So just to give you a rundown of some of the things that we would be doing, and it really is turning out to be very, very interesting. We would be doing some donations to those people who are in need. We also have radio interviews that will speak to some of the alternative means of doing banking, especially when you have a pandemic that we are going through. And why that is important, if you would remember that there were times when we had reduced banking hours. We also had a time when the banks were closed, and a lot of people did not have alternative means to do their banking. So we thought it was necessary for us to focus a little bit on the alternative solutions to you coming into a bank, lining up to do your business. And we are going to have what we are going to deem a power hour. Now, the banks has during this whole pandemic, all the banks have actually stepped up their game on proactive calls to our clients, and we have been reaching out to our clients just to find out, how they're doing, and also to offer solutions during this, whether it is the deferral program or to give general advice. So we have been doing a lot of that. So during this month, we are going to carve out some time where we will actually be proactively reaching out to our clients to, provide structured advice, and also to hear from them how they are doing, because a lot of people might not have that courage. So we are going to reach out as bankers to our clients. So that is one activity. We are going to have some radio interviews where we will talk about some of our products and services. We're going to have a panel discussion where we will bring together some of our executives as well as clients, small business clients as well as individuals who will speak to how they are coping during the pandemic. And then we will have a webinar which we may collaborate with the Eccb and open it up to everybody, where we will be talking about a topic, one of the subtopics, so that we can provide information to our clients. One of our signature activities would be the school project, which Vanessa is going to talk a little bit about. And we are going to have, as Gordon would have alluded to, some friendly rivalry among the banks, because we have what is called the financial information corner, which will be judged, and also we will be looking at where we see how many or who would win in terms of the alternative solutions that will be offered by the various banks. So we're pushing that, because I think it is really critical that we as St. Lucians keep an open mind to the alternative ways of doing banking.
That doesn't sound too friendly to me. That's very serious.
Okay, well, so the month is full of activity, and we really look forward, and our staff, they have been really, really good in terms of providing that support. We got everybody excited in, lending a hand, doing something that is worthwhile in terms of giving back to our community. And we are really proud of how our staff have responded to the various activities, and everybody's in different little what should I say, in little groups, communities, sub-communities, and so they are, providing their support as well. So I will hand over, because I know that time is limited. So I'll hand over to Vanessa, who will speak to our signature, what I will call our signature project with our schools.
Nice. Vanessa, talk to us.
Good morning. Good morning, our viewers as well. And I must say, this is very dear to us. We're quite excited about this. You have COVID-19, and the parents come out to inform us of what's happening, but you don't hear from our children. In recognition of Financial Information Month, and as part of our mandate to engage the public, right, we would like to reach out, of course, to our children. the Bankers Association would like to invite the schools on island to partake with us. And in partaking, we have 3 initiatives that we're going to be putting in place, of course, to engage our community and, by extension, our children. Our plans are, the first, an essay writing competition, and our topic, the impact of COVID-19 on my family expenses and how I have adapted to the new normal. Quite an exciting theme, quite an exciting topic, and we're looking forward to children to write, to be creative, to write to us and let us know how they feel about COVID-19. We're extending this to both the primary school and the secondary school children.
Unfortunately, my daughter is only 10 months.
PT. Okay, so the deadline for this is the 23rd of October. And we're encouraging the parents, we're encouraging our peers, we're encouraging, of course, the principals to push our children in this direction. Let us write, let us put pen to paper and write out children. Let us say what it is that has affected us and how we have adapted, how we have made an impact in our families. Let the world know what has happened to you to win this prize.
That's going to be an interesting perspective.
Very interesting, very, and we're quite excited about it. The second, a donation of 1 laptop per secondary school to a child who is deserving. The principal would know of the children who are deserving, but the parents are not able to, of course, provide a laptop. And as a unit, the banks have come together to ensure that we contribute and give back to our community. And our third is a brief discussion with our Form 5 students on coping in times of financial crisis. Now, we're quite aware that the Form 5s will be, of course, going into the CXC level and getting out very soon. And coping in times of financial crisis is key. This is what will make the difference as to whether you make it in life. So if we're able to give off this advice, this would definitely benefit our Form 5s. With our school visits, of course, this will be done on the 22nd and the 28th of October, and it will be at a time that is convenient to the principals of the school. So we're looking forward and awaiting feedback from the principals in setting this up. A presentation, of course, of the laptops and the announcement of the winners for our essay writing competition will be done on the 29th of the month. So we're again advising and we're asking persons to support our children in writing, support our children in self-expression, expressing themselves to let us know what is affecting. And we have 6 laptops that we will be giving out, 3 at the primary levels and 3 at the secondary school levels.
Okay, wonderful. And for more information on all these wonderful initiatives that you've rolled out, where can they go in terms of social media handles and what have you?
Okay, information will be passed on to you guys at a later date with the email addresses of the subcommittee members.
Okay.
And of course, the essays can be scanned in the midst of COVID and social distancing, scanned and emailed to one of our members for judging.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you both very much for sitting and speaking to us. I'm definitely looking forward to Financial Information Month.
Definitely.
You know, typically you think it's already a clerk, textbooky kind of activity, but I'm looking forward to, you know, what's coming out of Financial Information Month. Again, hopefully you guys can come in and speak to us a little bit more about the activities as they come closer. Thanks once again. Mr. Julian, Mr. Seeley, thank you also. It has been a pleasure sitting with you both as well. It's all the time we have for now. We have to stop this morning's, curtail this morning's brew for the coming on of a special broadcast. That's the Office of the Prime Minister press launch. So do stay tuned for that, airing directly after this morning's brew. My name is Jessie Leons. Thank you so much for sitting with us, getting the latest updates from the government of St. Lucia, as well as the launch of Financial Information Month. Do enjoy the rest of this week and tune in tomorrow morning, same time, same place, live on NTN. Bye-bye.
Thank you.